Good evening, everyone. Hope you all are doing well. So, on behalf of NISM, I take this opportunity to welcome you all and introduce today's speaker, Ms. Beena Joshi, for this webinar on Introduction for Social Auditor. A briefing about Beena ma'am. She is a professional in the development sector with an experience of around 30 years. She has worked with the NGOs as well as in the corporate on the CSR side. Her specific strengths are developing innovative and highly impactful initiatives in project planning and management. She has been a member of board of studies of IQAC committees of various colleges and external members of internal committees of the corporates under the POSH Act. Her specific interests are education and women empowerment. A strong team worker, Bina ma'am has led diverse teams effectively through the years. We heartily welcome you, ma'am, and over to you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much for that introduction, Kiranjit. So a very nice afternoon, good evening to all of you. And I'm going to be talking to you about social auditors and the course that is being offered by NISM. Let me share my screen with all of you and start the presentation. Yeah, can you see my screen now?
Yes, ma'am, it is visible. You can put it on slideshow.
Yeah. I'm going to talk to you about the course for social auditors. So before I start talking to you about social auditors, let me talk to you about some important milestones in this field, which will help you put all this into a good perspective. So the first concept I would like to talk to you is about the trusteeship concept. The trusteeship concept was put forth by Gandhiji and is based on the idea of inclusivity and to achieve economic equality. It basically says that people who are wealthy and who have got an extra monetary amount with them are actually trustees of that wealth, and they need to use it for the welfare and giving back to society. So in that sense, wealthy people become the trustees, and it is about voluntary giving for social good. As you can see, it is all in the interest of making a better society. Then we go on to charity, philanthropy, rise of high net worth individuals, and ultra high net worth individuals. Probably all of you have heard of all these terms. Let us go back and see some of the good institutions we have today, the premier institutes, hospitals, some of the charitable institutions have all been started by individuals as well as organizations or corporates. So we do have a legacy where we see that people who are in a better advantaged positions are doing good for society in the interest of all. We have individuals who are of high net worth. They have an investable surplus and they want to give it back to society. These consists of two types of people, individuals. Firstly, they are the first generation individuals who have made, grown their organization, grown their businesses themselves, and now are giving back to society. On the other hand, we also have individuals, the HNIs, who are belonging to intergenerational businesses and families. So we have a lot of people in India who have been doing good work through charitable and philanthropic causes and different means, through trusts, through societies. And this is before independence. And also currently we can see all these people doing good work for society. The Dasra Bain report has stated that the high net worth individual giving has increased to 11% in financial year 21-22, and it's a big amount of 25,300 crores. So you can see a great impact, a social impact being happening through this charitable and philanthropic contributions of individuals in India. And just to name a few, there are so many, I cannot name all of them, but someone that all of you recognize are Azim Premji and Rohini Nilikeni. So we have a lot of things happening through the charity and philanthropy approach as well. Corporate social responsibility is the mandate that is given to businesses. The eligible companies are defined in the terms of their net worth, their profit, or their turnover. And it mandates that these companies should should give 2% of the past 3 years' average net profit for CSR activities. What activities they could include as CSR have been defined in the Schedule 7 of the bill. And I don't think this is not unknown to all of you, because CSR is really the buzzword today. And it is expected that it will grow at the rate of 19% year on year. The percentage of CSR spending in 2021-22 has been studied, and 70% of it has been allocated to education, healthcare, rural development, environmental sustainability, and poverty alleviation. So we can see the CSR have arrived on the scene, and they are doing a lot of social good. The another concept that all of us need to understand, since all of you have expressed interest to be social auditors, is the concept of the Sustainable Development Goals. Previously, we had the Millennium Development Goals, and the Millennium Development Goals were enforced kind of by the developed countries on the developing countries. However, the Sustainable Development Goals have replaced this Millennium Development Goals, and in 2015 there were 17 Sustainable Development Goals which were adopted by the United Nations, and they are called as the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. As all of us know, India is now the 5th largest economy in the world. However, the growth has not been inclusive. We see a gap in the top first percentile and the 50th percentile, and it has unfortunately widened. This has been increased by the COVID pandemic. The inequalities have increased, and it is estimated that the COVID pandemic has pushed another 200 million in India into poverty. The Niti Aayog has stated that in order to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals until 2030, we need to allocate 13% of our GDP for the social causes. But currently, we stand at a mere 7% of the GDP. So basically, we have a shortfall of allocation. In case we were to achieve all the Sustainable Development Goals by 2030, we really need a concentrated effort by all these organizations so that we can indeed be a better world to live in. Apart from this, we see an increase in the rise of the concept of responsible business. Responsible business conduct has been a globally recognized term. We have John Elkington, who first had the triple bottom line mention. He's from UK, and basically we try to see the impact on people, planet, and profits, and we don't want to compromise on the people or the planet to make more profits. So there has been an overall increase in the whole concept of responsible business conduct. And in May 21, SEBI has introduced BRSR, which is Business Responsibility and Sustainability Reporting, for top 1,000 listed entities to file BRSR. Basically, it is requesting them to report on 9 principles to improve their compliance, their consistency, and the communication for non-financial disclosures. So overall, we can see that India is also moving towards the ESG reporting, the environmental, social, and governance reporting. Though it's not yet mandatory, it would be a welcome development. So all these efforts are basically to nudge businesses to contribute towards a wider development goals while they also maximize their profits. So now let us look at the social sector in India. The social sector in India is also called as the third sector, and the social sector term refers to all those sets of activities which contribute to human capital formation, human development, and we have various examples of this, such as housing, education, healthcare, medical care, water supply, sanitation, etc. Uh, so you may ask what constitutes the social sector in India. I think all of you must have heard the term NGOs or non-governmental organizations. They could be formed through various, it could be a trust, it could be a society in various forms. We also have now the social enterprises and Section 8 companies. Basically, the social enterprises and Section 8 companies are allowed to make profits, but those cannot be redistributed and they have to be reinvested in the social intent and the objectives of the enterprises. We just discussed corporate social responsibility. Corporate social responsibility initiatives are undertaken by the eligible companies, and sometimes they may be implementing it directly through a foundation. It could be a partnership with a social sector organization. We also have checkbook writing. Actually, sometimes it has become infamous because of that. But the recent amendments by the Ministry of Corporate Affairs very specifically state that you cannot have one-time activities under CSR beyond a certain percentage. So that is also making the social sector very vibrant in India. The recent trend in the social sector is the rise of collaboratives and collectives. It has been seen through the years of the social intervention in India that when people come together, you can achieve a better impact and have a broader goal that you can address. So these collaboratives can be of a similar nature. So you could have a corporate collaborative, you can have an NGO collaborative, or you could also have a collective or a collaborative where you have multi-stakeholder partners. So they could include the NGOs, the CSRs, it could include civil society organizations, it could involve the community-based organizations. But currently, I may like to draw your attention to the fact that collaboratives and collectives are growing very rapidly in India. And that's one trend of the social sector. All of us know of the corporate and family foundations, which are numerous. In fact, a lot of corporate and family foundations are doing good work in India since time immemorial. So they are also very much a part of the social sector in India. And now, of course, we are moving to a new phase where we have the formation of the social stock exchange. So let us go through what is a social stock exchange. Social stock exchange is a separate segment of the existing stock exchange, which will raise funds from the public through social exchange mechanism. I may draw your attention to the narration we have had in the past 15 minutes, where we are saying that we need a lot of investment for in the social development sector, and we do need a lot of investment to see that we reduce the inequalities. So the social sector, social stock exchange is actually, it's unlocking a large pool of social capital and encouraging blended finance structure so that we can have conventional capital, which will partner with social capital. And like we just discussed, it will meet the concerns and challenges that we face as a society. So wide notification of July 25th, year 22, the SEBI regulations, the SEBI listing obligations and disclosure requirements of 2015, and the SEBI regulations of 2012, which talk about alternative investment funds, they were amended, and we now have a broad framework of the social stock exchange in India. Moving on to the topic of social audit. So it is, what is a social audit? The social audit is an independent evaluation of the performance of an organization as it relates to the attainment of its social goal. So monitoring and evaluation have always been a part of programs. Moreover, they were more popular for large scale programs. For example, the impact assessment was mentioned as a very important part of some social flagship programs. We have the National Rural Health Mission. We also have the National Rural Employment Guarantee Scheme, the Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan. So all of these is mandated that a performance audit of these programs, which are also called as the flagship programs of the Government of India, be conducted. And under this, it was the village panchayat who was given the power and the authority to conduct these performance audits. So conducting audits, conducting an inquiry and evaluation of a social organization or a program or an activity have been there in the social sector in the past. But now it has been introduced as an integral part under the social stock exchange. Basically, the social audit measures how well the organization is performing, how well it is standing up to the shared values and objectives that the organization has set out for itself. So basically, it is an in-depth scrutiny and analysis of how well any public utility, especially in respect to its social relevance. It is also referred to as the social intent of an organization. So it is an independent evaluation of the performance of an organization or the performance of a program, which is called as a social audit. Needless to say, it is an instrument of social accountability. In the social audit, we have the social, economic, as well as environmental benefits that are addressed. It's very important to see that it's the organization's non-financial objectives. And for these, it considers the views of stakeholders of the not-profit organization or for-profit organization. Stakeholders are defined as people or institutions who will be directly impacted by the intervention or who can impact the intervention. So the stakeholders are primary and secondary. Primary are the stakeholders which are very core and critical to the social intervention, and secondary stakeholders are not immediately impacted by the intervention, but they are very important to the success or otherwise of the program. So it is a stakeholder perspective which is also important in the social audit. The term is also sometimes used as a concept. So it can be also said that we do a social audit of a program, and it is also used to describe a whole process. And then social impact assessment is also a process to know the impact on various stakeholders and verifies whether the organization's social mission has been achieved. Moving on to social auditors, uh, I think this is the most interesting part because in India, it is for the first time that probably a large scale of people are knowing about the term of social auditors. So a social auditor is an individual who is registered with a regulatory organization such as the ICAI or ICSI, ICMAI, or any other agency which have been specified by the SEBI, and most importantly, who has qualified the certification program conducted by NISM. And the auditor, the said individual, also holds a valid certificate And this has been as per the Gazette notification of SEBI dated 25th July 2022. So we can say that this is a very, very recent happening. And I'm glad that we have keen interest in by a large many number of people to become social auditors. So social auditors will also be known as social impact assessors. Let us now see the difference between social auditors and financial auditors. So I think the word itself is explanatory, which says that financial auditors will have only the financial perspective, while the social auditors will be multi-perspective, especially because we can see in the second column, in the second row, that it says that the social auditors consider as a societal ecosystem, which is important. Like we just now discussed, the stakeholders are very critical to the social audit process. And for a social organization, the stakeholders would be the shareholders, the funders, the financiers, the participants, that is the beneficiaries, the intermediate beneficiaries. So social auditors actually will engage with the ecosystem, the societal ecosystem itself, while the financial auditors would be focusing and concentrating more on their shareholders. Just like the triple bottom line, the social auditors would be looking at the economic, social, as well as environmental aspects, while the financial auditors will be focusing merely on the financial aspects. For the social auditors, the comparison will be within the organization, other external standards, and other comparative organizations. But the financial auditor would actually compare it with the firm to be audited or the auditee. Social impact, social performance, as well as financial audit are all the key metrics for the social auditors. The methods which will be adopted by the financial auditors are more or less standardized methods, but the social auditors would tweak the methods depending on the organization to be audited, because depending on the project and depending on the thrust areas, it would differ. Let me just give you an example. Is if you are a social auditor for an educational initiative and is for children, then the methods you would adopt for stakeholder consultation would be grossly different than if you were to audit a project or an organization which was in watershed development, or if you are auditing an organization which is addressing the needs or having an intervention for people with disabilities. So in that sense, we can see that the social auditors methods would really vary and will need to be tweaked depending on the audit organization to be audited. The indicators that we would consider in the financial audit would primarily be quantitative in nature. But for social auditors, the qualitative indicators are critical and very important, which would be core along with the quantitative indicators that would be used. If we were to look at social auditors, I would like to draw your attention to the fact that the social auditors need to look at themselves as facilitators and not inhibitors. I mean, let us see that the financial auditor is an individual who is appointed to inspect the book of accounts of a company or the validity and accuracy of the transactions. He will be forming an opinion which will be adverse or disclaimer of opinion on the overall view of the financial statements, whether the statements depict a true and fair picture of the entity's financial position. While a social auditor communicates the relevant parts of the audit program, including the risk and opportunities involved, to all the relevant interested parties and inform them periodically of its progress. For this, it would use the auditor would use established external and internal communication channels. So the social audit methods will be chosen depending on the audit. So it may involve a human interaction or no human interaction, or they would really be conducted on site or remote, And all this will be defined and determined by the scope, criteria, duration, and location. Continuing here on, we see that the social auditor is an assessor of the impact of the program or the organization. As we have been discussing, it will consider a lot of stakeholders. It will look at how stakeholders have been benefited by the intervention. And in that sense, we can say that it is an outside-in approach, in the sense that it would be considering how the stakeholders are looking at the intervention or the business, rather than what the owners or the founders of the organization themselves plan it to be. So in that sense, it is an outside-in approach. The social auditor will deal with a lot of social impact parameters. And these impact parameters would depend on what all information, consultation, triangulation that would take place outside the organization which is being audited. So we can say that it involves the stakeholders of the enterprise, and it also adopts a triple bottom line approach. So let us look now at the skills and competencies required by a social auditor. First and foremost, the auditor should be knowledgeable about the audit principles, the methods and processes for social audit. The social auditor should also be aware about the management system standards, any other relevant standards. For example, the social audit standards, there are 16 social audit standards that have been put forth, plus ISO 26000 guidance on social responsibility, and the national guidelines on responsible business conduct, NGRBC, just to name a few. Most importantly, the information regarding the auditee and its context is very, very important for a social auditor. The internal, external issues, relevant interested parties, their needs and expectations, business activities, product, services, and processes of the auditee. The auditor should have a good hand, good control over all of this, and the applicable statutory and regulatory requirements relevant to the activities of the auditee. It could, so like we said, it could be a not-for-profit or a for-profit organization. Let me give you an example over there. So if you are to do a social audit of a program for children or the welfare of children, it would be expected that the auditor is well versed with the current developments and compliances that we have in India, a good sectoral knowledge, for example, of the Right to Education Act, any child rights, also how it is related to human rights. It would also include the Protection of Children Against Sexual Offences Act and all such statutes, and the local geography and the context. On the other hand, if just to compare and contrast, I would like to give you an example that a social auditor is engaged to audit a program of women's empowerment. But the complexity is that the women's empowerment program assessment or audited in a matriarchal or a matrilineal society would be very different than how you would do it in a typical patriarchal society. So I'm just trying to bring to you a nuanced approach and understanding of how the skills and competencies of the social auditor will be required depending on the task at hand. The further skills that we would like to share with you that are required, that are essential, would be the social audit standards. Just now, like the examples I have given you, the auditor should be well conversant with the thematic area. And mind you, the thematic area can be very, very different. It could be watershed development, women empowerment, education, a study of the displaced people. It could be human trafficking. It could be afforestation. So every thematic area will have its own terminology, its own compliances, the approach and understanding. So it will be necessary that the social auditor should be conversant with the thematic area, along with being knowledgeable about the compliance issues. Very important, it is necessary to know the stakeholder consultation methods, because like we said, it's an outside in approach. It's important to have skills where the auditor is aware and can use the appropriate consultation methods to get the meaning and to get the impact to be better known, calculated, and reported. It also needs very strong interpersonal skills and the personal professional attributes like being right, truthful, fair, to be able to maintain objectivity and confidentiality. Along with that, it's important to mention that it's a very, very human-centered domain. We need to be effective communicators, ability to make decisions, problem-solving, analytical skills. And it's really important to see that the social auditor has got all these relevant skills and competencies. So let us now move on to the NISM Series 23 for the Social Auditors Certificate Examination. So in the Union Budget of 1920, it was proposed to create a social stock exchange under the regulatory ambit of SEBI. Further to that, SEBI has notified a framework for social stock exchange. So under this framework, it has been mentioned that reputed firms or institutions who are having expertise in the area of social audit should carry out social audit, who will employ social auditors who have qualified the certification course conducted by NISM. So let us know more about the social auditor certification examination. The examination aims to create a pool of social auditors who would assess the impact of social interventions of various social enterprises who raise funds from the social stock exchange platform. And the immense need of such kind of social auditors, I think, will be evident to all of you now from the discussions we have had right from the time of the background setting to the various updates that I shared with you. The examination objectives are primarily that on successful completion of the examination, the social auditor will know the basics of social auditing, some of which we have discussed before. These were just the very high touch points. There is also a code of conduct that the social auditors need to follow. The successful candidates will be able to understand the general concepts related to the social stock exchange, social audit, and social impact assessment. On successful completion of the examination, the social auditor, the candidates would know the social impact reporting, disclosures, and regulations. The benefits of taking this examination is the coursework, which covers in detail the social audit standard framework. It also includes the theoretical and practical aspects of social impact assessment. And of course, it's essential for enhancing the knowledge, skills, competencies for the social audit practice. So this module the certification has 11 modules, and they are quite intense, and they will give you a good idea of the sector. So they start by the knowledge of the social sector and Indian financial markets, followed by understanding the trading, clearing, settlement, and risk management processes, understanding the social stock exchange, knowing the registration and listing on social stock exchanges, learning about the social audits and social auditors, learn about social audit standard framework. The 7th module is on understanding the social impact assessment. The following module understands impact assessment and social auditing through case studies. It's very, very important, like we have been discussing, is the case studies are very critical because they would be the social audit standard specific and thematic area specific. So these will really be a great value addition. Apart from that, you will learn about the disclosure norms, reporting requirements by social auditors, and penalties. And the last 2 modules are to know more about the taxation and the key regulations. The most important part of the social auditors is who will be eligible for this NISM Series 23. Um, the first is financial auditors after they have successfully completed a course at NISM and receive a certificate completion. The other individuals need to have at least one eligibility criteria. So chartered accountants, CAs or CS, company secretaries, or they could be cost and management accountants. If postgraduates wish to apply, they have to be qualified, or rather the university has been to be recognized by the UGC, and they need to have a minimum of 3 years experience in the development sector, or graduates from UGC recognized universities need to have minimum of 6 years of experience in the development sector, or any other person with suitable accreditations with a minimum of 6 years of experience in the development sector are eligible to apply for the NISM Series 23 Social Auditors Certificate Examination. Let us see the assessment structure for the Social Auditor Certification Examination. The Series 23 examination will be a computer-based online examination. It will be conducted throughout the year at various NISM test centers. Please note that the examination is available only in English. The test duration will be for 2 hours, and the table shares with you the marking system. So you will have a multiple choice type questions, 85, each carrying 1 mark, and the total marks that could be gained is 85. You will also have case-based questions where there will be 3 cases and each case having 5 questions of 1 mark each. That would total to 15 marks, and the total examination will be of 100 marks. Please note that there will be negative marking of 25% of the marks assigned to a question. The passing score will be 60%, and the certificate validity would be for 3 years. The exam fees for this is 1,500 Indian rupees plus GST. Apart from this, there will be a training program for social auditors, which will be conducted by self-regulatory organizations or SROs. These are ICAI, ICSI, ICMAI, or any other agency which may be specified by SEBI. The training program for social auditors will also be a mix of classroom training, case studies, as well as field visits. The training will be focusing on soft skills for social auditors and also social impact assessment and its application. However, if any candidate who wishes to acquaint themselves of the social stock exchange platform and social auditing could also attend the training. This is also to take the opportunity to share with you the different function-wise NISM certifications which are available. The certifications are in the domain of product sales, mutual funds, portfolio managers or alternative investment fund, in advisory, operations, or compliance and audit. So I urge all of you to also go through the different function-wise NISM certifications available for all of you. For you to enroll for the certification examination, do sign up on the website which is shared herein. After that, you click on the certifications tab, select the certification examination and register through the website, the link which is mentioned here. And apart from that, if you have any queries regarding the enrollment, please don't hesitate and do call the certification help desk at NISM. Please note down the telephone number and the email that you could reach out to for any clarifications that you may have. So by this, I end my presentations and hand it over to Kiranjit.
Thank you, ma'am, for such a wonderful presentation. Am I audible?
Yes, thank
Yes,
you.
ma'am. Ma'am, now normally you have covered almost every important aspect pertaining to the social audit examination. Most of the questions which we have seen in our chat box, they are pertaining to the eligibility criteria, that who can just who all are eligible and who can take up this exam. So I would like to just tell you that if you can once again please let the candidates know that what are the eligibility criteria would be really helpful.
Okay, okay. Let me,
Yes, ma'am.
do you want me to show that slide again or can just?
Ma'am, I think so that would be really helpful.
Okay, so let me just go back to that slide. Just give me a minute. Just a minute. They would like to know about the qualifications, right?
Yes, ma'am. Eligibility criteria, whether candidates from a non-auditing background or CA, CS, who all are eligible. So you
Yes,
can please cover up on this.
yes, yes. Can you see the slide?
Yes, ma'am, it is visible.
So just look at the criterias once again. So it would be financial auditors. Please note that they have to complete a certificate from NISM, and it's the course that they have taken. Apart from that, it is anyone, a chartered accountant could take the examination, or a company secretary, or a cost and management accountant. I think it's important to note that the postgraduates, if an individual is an postgraduate, most importantly, they have to have the degree from a recognized UGC recognized university. Please note that, because a lot of universities are not recognized by the UGC, that's the University Grants Commission. In that case, you will not be eligible to apply for it. But you also need to have a 3 years experience in the development sector. And I think SEBI and NISM will be guiding you further, and there are a lot of notifications also coming across. But currently, it is 3 years of experience in the development sector, which means you could have an experience of working with a not-for-profit organization, a social enterprise, um, probably you're a part of a family foundation, corporate foundation, a CSR professional. So all those will be considered. You recollect the first few slides we shared, the social sector. So all of those will be eligible and it would be considered as a experience in the development sector. If you're a graduate from a university, which is again recognized by UGC, and you're not a postgraduate, you need a minimum of 6 years of experience in the development sector. So please note how the experience that is mandated changes from a graduate to a postgraduate. And a person who is having any similar accreditations will again need a minimum of 6 years of experience in the development sector. So I hope this is once again clear, that who is eligible to apply for the and who can take the certificate examination.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for that clarity. Yes, so we can now conclude the session with this. Once again, I would like to thank you and our wonderful audience for being part of the webinar. Thank you, everyone,
Thank you.
and have a nice
Thank
day.
you. Thank you very much.